Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to have you here with us in London. Maybe you could begin with a brief introduction to the Society of the Snow. What can people expect when they watch it?
I think that it's an immersive experience. It's more than a film for me. I know the story since I am a child. So since I am 22, I was a classmate of the guys who organized that journey in the plane. So it's this film, 51 years afterwards, is a more than a film. It's an experience. It's the experience that guys lived, who survived and who died. It was something that I think that we need to have, because the story wasn't complete. I think this film completes a small and a huge story. A small story because it's 45 people that died. They crashed in a plane in 1972. It's very small, but it's very huge because they were young guys, 72 days, living in the cornice between life and death.
And casting your mind back to 1972, what do you recall about hearing the news and hearing on the radio? At what point did you decide that you'd like to tell this story in book form?
When they crashed, of course, they were my friends. I went to the same college. Nando Parrado was my classmate, so I knew mostly everybody in the plane, those who survived and those who died. And when they came back, I had the commitment to write the book. I began to write the book in helping Nando Parrado. Then I was 22. I have no experience. I like to write. My first novel, I wrote it at 24, and it was published in USA in 1979. I had Nando Parrado to tell the story, but it was they need a huger book. Written by an English, Pierre Sporrid, an English writer. So we can't do something amateur as we were doing. But I have in my mind, in my psychology, in my spirit, I have the absolutely commitment to tell the story from the proximity, because I knew them more than anybody. Because we grew together, so and nobody, so little people who write, who knows those who died, because they lived so little, they lived only 20 years old. So I have the commitment since 1973 when they came out 28th of December 1972. From 1973, I have the commitment that something like me. But there was not many like me, because I knew them and I like to write, has to tell all the story. And the first book was launched 1 year after, so very near the traumatic episode. So I need time. I need everybody to tell what was for me, not what happened to me. And in the middle time, in 2002, I wrote an essay from the point of view of the dead guys. In 2002, 30 years after the crash, and I titled it. I published it in the biggest newspaper in our country, Uruguay, and the title was the Others. So give voice to the 29th guys who didn't come back. And when Jay Bayona took the torch of telling, he's an artist, he's so intelligent, and he has so goodness, because you need to have goodness, because it's a story of generosity. The better example of generosity I have ever found in my life and in the history is the agreement of if I die, I give you my body so you can continue across the mountain to tell my family and my friends and my country what happened to me. I have never seen such a generous attitude. So we need somebody like Jay Bayona to tell such a delicate, rough things, but delicate mood.
And when he did first approach you, what was your first thought? And what was your collaboration like? Because I guess it's one thing to be able to describe in detail, what happened, but it's quite another to be able to bring it to life on screen. So what was it like working with him in that respect?
I met Jay Bayona in 2011 because he sent us an email, and when I read the email and I spread it with the survivors, we knew that this guy want to go deeper in this kind of story, that you must go deeper. And in 2016, I met him. I met the producers, Belén Atienza and Sandra Almeida, and I was absolutely sure that they were the persons for doing this, and the proof that they were the persons who can do this journey, this exploration, spiritual exploration, philosophical exploration, is that nobody, not the survivors and not the families of the deceased, read a single sentence of the script. They never see it, and they were confident. I was working with them, so they were confident in myself because they knew me. But they were confident in Jay Bayona and in Belén Atienza and Sandra Almeida because they met him. They met them in Uruguay, and when Jay Bayona told the families of the deceased what was the point of view, he began to cry. Jay Bayona, he have never met those people. It was 4 years ago. He have never met those people who were in the room. He began to cry. So everybody was confident that it will be honest and then we'll go deeper.
Watching the film, I think the thing that really strikes me is a lot of these survival stories, perhaps, makes heroes of all its protagonists, or, you can sometimes see things through rose-tinted glasses. And the film really doesn't shy away from that. And there's, themes of guilt that pervade the whole story, decisions being made, obviously the aspect of cannibalism is quite a dark one, but the overarching feeling definitely is one of hope. And as you mentioned just there, the ultimate sacrifice, giving yourself up for someone else. So what do you think some of the themes are, and what can people take away from watching the film?
So it's a big question. Who is the hero? Who is the hero in life? In this story, that I think it's emblematic, it's like a symbol. It's a small story, but it's very huge because it's 72 days, young people in the cornice between life and death. Who is the hero? Those who, the classic mood of saying what a hero is, the epic, the masculine way. They crossed the mountain, the hugest mountain in the world. The Andes is much bigger than the Himalayas, and with 20 kilos less, without clothes. That's an epic, and that's a kind of hero. But those who did, as Numa Turcati, who is the narrator of the film, those who did everything and didn't reach to the final, they didn't live. He died 11th of December, and the last expedition went away 12th of December. That's an hero. And those who, that guy that wrote a letter, and he died in the avalanche in 29th of October, and he wrote a letter, and when he says that agreement that is for myself is the most generous the most generous attitude I have ever seen. He wrote, "We are eating the bodies, and if I died, I will have a pleasure that I help with my body for my friends to cross the mountains and reach our homes." Who is the hero? It's a question that I think everybody must break the prejudice, because this is a small story, but it's very complex. So it's the simplest way is the hero is who do the epic, journey, his. But in the others, those who make the psychological contention, because it was an explosive situation. They were said 72 days starving, and they heard in the radio at the 10th day that nobody will search them. And I went to that place in the middle of the Andes, and you are in the middle of nothing. You are as if you are in between Mars and Jupiter. You are in the middle of nothing, and you heard that the people, the society, the civilization says in the radio. It's a metaphor. You are dead, because they say we are going to search for you in 2 months ago, 2 months afterwards, for taking the bodies. So you are dead. It's very complex. You can have very lectures of this little small story, but very huge. It's small enough, and the appearance is very small. 45 guys crashing in the plane. But it's very huge because it's life and death. What's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of death? They when they have the avalanche, most of them when they were dying, they seems to have peace, and they learn that to die is not something awful. It's peaceful. And why they return when they open the snow from their mouths? Why they return to life? It's a dilemma. If it was so peaceful to die, why they come back to life? And it was a hell. In that situation with the avalanche, the plane was full of snow. 8 bodies, 8 guys that died, and they returned to life. So it's very inspiring. It's very, and I think the film of Jay Bayona managed to show us all those new ways of looking at a story between life and death, so crucial, so in the cornice, just in the cornice. You must have an artistic way of telling a story, and Jay Bayona has it.
And finally, when you saw the finished product and just kind of the authenticity with which he's been able to bring the stories to life, I guess both, the kind of the landscapes and, the avalanches and all this detail, but also the emotional resonance and seeing the arcs of the characters. What did you think, and how has the reaction been, I guess, both in Uruguay, but then, it's already been showing in festivals, and of course it's going to be on Netflix soon. How have you seen the reaction so far?
When the first time I see it with one of the survivors, with Jay Bayona, and one of the survivors that was sick, and he died 2 months ago. I remember we spoke with the producers by phone, and I told them, it's not a film, it's an experience. It's really more than a film. It's a psychological experience, a spiritual experience. The film is like the pretext, but it's for me. And it's made justice. That's something I was very pleased. It made justice to a story that was very much deeper than what we thought. I knew it because I know them. I knew that these guys, and I heard from them since 1972. But the rest of the world doesn't know it. So we have I think we have the opportunity with this film to be in reconciliation with a human being. I think it's inspiring. It's not because of our country or these guys. The story, the way the human being acts when he is punished by nature, because they are not enemies. They are not. It's not a war. You can't blame anybody. It's a crash because of human failure. You can't blame anybody. And I think when we see this film, you get a new version of human being. Okay. It's not true what I think. We learned from English philosopher Thomas Hobbes, the man is the wolf of the man. Well, here we have an example. to show to the world that not in every time the man is the wolf of the man. The man can be the rescue of the man.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me. And I can't wait for everyone else to have the chance to see Society of the Snow. Thanks so much.
A pleasure.